welcome back, Weebles, to the channel Bitch and Doge, where today I'm doing another VOD review. Only this time it's going to be a DPS, a gold DPS. And for those of you who don't already know, DPS is my least played role. So I will say, I think I still have a lot to say, but I will give a disclaimer that it's not my most played role, so hopefully everything will still be up to snuff. But if maybe some of the advice, maybe if you're an experienced DPS player you disagree, that might be why. But either way, I still thought I'd give my 2 cents. Especially because they start out this map on Hanzo, and while Hanzo is a character that for the longest time I didn't have a lot of experience on, I have been playing him a lot more recently, and I feel like I have a decent amount to say. Now, you might notice this game is starting, and, well, our Hanzo is nowhere to be seen. Hello? You know, not making good first impressions, I've got to say. Okay, so I've already watched this attack. I will just say, oof, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I will say this. First of all, before I get into the, criticism, I will say, this is one where I've got a lot more good things to say. So don't worry, I'm not here to just grill you. But I am also gonna say, for the love of God, do not be that guy. I get it, it's only 10-15 seconds that you spend, not selecting a character in spawn. But the thing is, it's still just very, very bad courtesy to, just not pick a character, especially in a competitive game. In quick play maybe, but in a competitive game, that's you see, the thing is, it's small, quote unquote, but I just really don't like it because it's so easy to just not do that, It's so easy to just select a character. You can change it if you change your mind, it's one of those things where it makes it so that people don't know what team comp to run because they don't know what their DPS are picking, and especially if you're a tank or a support, it's a lot more important to know what you're playing with, You can't really be running a Zen Lucio with a tank that needs tons of healing and support and DPS that are Bastion or whatever, but maybe you can get away with a less healing comp if you have more self-sufficient DPS Tracer and things like that, or Sombra and Tracer, something like that. So that kind of information is important to your tank and your supports. They need to know what their DPS are playing, and again, it's a small thing, but it is frustrating when your DPS just don't goddamn pick, and it's okay, so I have no idea what tank I want to walk out on, and then you walk out on the tank and they still haven't picked character, and then they pick character once you've already walked out of spawn, and then you're oh, they picked a character that is absolutely terrible with the tank I picked, and now I'm stuck here. I would have happily swapped off to a tank that would have been more helpful with you, but because I've already left spawn now, and you waited this long to pick, now I'm stuck on a tank that means we're probably going to throw first point looking at the team comp. It's just a frustrating experience, on the other end, when you're the guy who has to deal with, oh, they won't pick, and I don't know what I'm supposed to run here. The other thing is, I understand if you're not sure either, but just select a character on the character select that you might pick, and if you change your mind, just pick a different one. Because at least signaling I might play this is at least giving people something, It's a small thing, but I just think it's really annoying when people do that. And again, I wouldn't mind so much if it was quick play, but knowing this is competitive, and this is being sent in for a VOD review, it's not really a great first impression if right at the start of the game, you're not even picking your character until 10 seconds into the game when your team's already started the first team fight and your Amatra's already at half HP. It's a bit. It doesn't reflect well on you. That being said, for as much as I've started out pretty negative, things are going to start looking up a little bit from here. There's only a small mistake here I've got to point out as well, though, which is we kind of wasted that Storm Arrow. We're using it extremely early, and we just used it immediately into a Connected Grasp, and we just gave that Sigma a bunch of overhealth that he didn't need to have. Because, yeah, as a reminder, that doesn't just absorb bullets. Sigma gets more health the more bullets he absorbs, so you just gave Sigma health and wasted your ability, so that's not really great. But here, things get a bit better. I would say, if I could be insanely giga-picky, I would be well, I don't like that we're just trying to, pressure down main when we don't really have a viable target to shoot. But in fairness, to get around this, you'd have to make a risky play. There's no non-risky play you can make here to get a good sightline to get a kill. And before you want to take a risky play, you do want to have information, and you don't have that yet. So I think it's fine to spend a few seconds shooting this sonar arrow down main and just seeing what the enemies have and going for some incidental shots. And hey, that shot on the cast might have landed. Obviously it didn't, but it that was a decent, the planning of that shot was fine. And that's something that's going to come up quite a lot, because Hanzo is obviously seemingly an all-aim hero, and I say seemingly, obviously he's massively an aim hero. However, a big thing with Hanzo is, more so than any other, like, quote-unquote aim-based hero, it's all about the planning of your shots, rather than the just in the moment, I can just click heads, like, insane skill, if you know what I mean. It's important for everyone, but Hanzo especially. And that's important to bring up, because when I'm going to be critiquing your aim, there's not really any point in me just saying, you can't click on the head, wow, you're bad, haha, you're bad, you're not even close. That's obviously not helpful. What might be more helpful would be like, hey, that shot missed, but it didn't miss because you can't aim, it missed because you didn't plan. You know, and it's like, hey, if you planned this out and then observed this and then shot here, you probably would have landed the shot. That kind of thing. So, either way, that cast right there, while it's very simple, that's a good example of, like, you know, you plan that shot, you know? You can see which direction the cast is moving, you know what he wants to do, so you know where his head is going to be by the time the arrow arrives. You have sonar arrow on him, so you can see him through walls. You shot the arrow where his head was likely to be, and you unfortunately barely missed. It happens. But at the very least, you could clearly see you were aiming in the right direction, and that's what's important. And I like that we don't just keep pushing main here, we see that the enemies are being pushed back, and immediately you peek this little area looking for a pick on one of the supports. I like that. I don't like this shot. First of all, bit of slow reactions, and don't get me wrong, you didn't have a lot of time to react, but I mean, if you're going for a shot like this, you're going to have to react fast. So it's one of those things where it's like, I like peeking this angle, but you are not going to be given an easy shot here. You are going to have to, like, react quickly to what you see, and that seemed quite delayed to me. And the other thing is, when you shot in the center of the two supports, which makes sense when it comes to bigger and slower targets, because if the targets are big and slow, and there's multiple of them huddled in one spot, shooting into the center of the crowd, you're almost certainly going to hit someone. But with two thin and fast supports, it's very likely they're just going to dodge out the way. Considering the Mercy's moving forward and the Juno's moving backwards, basically you're guaranteeing you're going to miss by shooting in the middle. If you shoot to the left, you maybe get the Mercy. If you shoot to the right, you maybe get the Juno. Now, in fairness, the Mercy, I think, would have been practically impossible without you repositioning. But the Juno, if you were really quick, you might have been able to get a headshot. Now, in fairness, that is if you were really quick. That is a difficult shot. And it was still right for you to try and, you know, give yourself an opening to try that. But, yeah, either way. We then take high ground here, which, yeah, I think I'm going to go in the spiel before I continue with this. So, this might seem really small, but I actually want to spend quite a bit of time talking about the fact you take high ground here. Because I overall like it, but there's a lot of things to note about it. Some good, mostly good actually, but some bad. So I want to say straight away, one of the most... Like, it's a bit vague in fairness, so that's probably why it's so common, because you can put a lot of things under this umbrella. But one of the most common and consistent things I see in a lot of these bronze, silver, and gold VODs on people who say that they're hard stuck is a lot of the times when I'm watching their gameplay, it's not even necessarily like they don't do the right things, quote unquote. If their character has a job, they plop themselves in the spot where the character that does that job should probably be, quote unquote, and then they wait for something to be presented in front of them that is their job, quote-unquote, and then they do their job, quote-unquote. Why am I saying it like this? Well, as you can probably guess by the implication here, these people never go above and beyond. They never make a decision, they never identify a problem with what's going on and decide, okay, maybe it shouldn't, in an ideal world, be my responsibility to deal with that. But no one's dealing with that, and if no one deals with that, we will die. So, I am going to change and adapt my playstyle to try and deal with this threat. I know this sounds very basic, but there's a lot of people that don't really do this at lower ranks. They will know what their character's supposed to do, and they will do it, but if it doesn't work, whatever their character does, if it doesn't work, then they don't adapt to that. They don't think, wait, hang on a minute, I'm playing Bastion and my job is to wait for someone to dive my backline, hit the funny turret button, and then go brrrr and get a free kill. However, the enemy team is not playing a dive tank, and they're not playing Reinhardt either. Oh no, they're playing Sigma, and they're sucking up all of my bullets, and they're putting up shields, and oh no, what am I going to do? Well, I guess I won't change my playstyle at all. I guess I'll still sit in the back and wait for enemies to walk directly into my face before I press turret form, and then I'll wonder why we lost. Because I never made a mistake, quote unquote. I never had a situation where I used turret form incorrectly. I always used it when enemies were threatening spamming my supports or whatever. But because of the fact this Bastion, in theory, this theoretical Bastion, is playing in their mind still with this mindset of, I must sit in the back and wait for the enemies to come for me, and I will never come to them, and I will never be the aggressor. I will just sit there and wait for something to react to and press the button that I'm supposed to press when that thing happens. When people play like that, it means they can only win when the opponents make mistakes. And don't get me wrong, everyone makes mistakes in this game, no matter how good you are, but the better you are, the less mistakes you're going to make. And there are going to be some individual games where the enemies do not make mistakes. And in those games, you literally cannot win those games if the enemies don't make mistakes, if everyone on your team is doing nothing but trying to punish a mistake. If all they're doing is, quote-unquote, their job, sitting around waiting for the enemies to come to them so they can press the button that kills them, and the enemies just don't come to them, then they literally just can't win. Because that's how they win. The enemy's falling for the trap. And if no one falls for the trap, well, a lot of these players, that's all they've got, you know? They've got nothing else in their head. And so once that's gone, it's like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Okay, I know that's a long spiel, but the fact that you're climbing up here, even though it's small, instantly signals to me you're not falling into that trap necessarily. At least not all the time. Because you don't have to climb up here, technically. You know, if you're thinking, like, just doing my job as Hanzo, quote-unquote, you probably sit on this car and you just keep lobbing arrows, you know, over here. And you just go lob, 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 shoot, 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 shoot. And hey, if you did that, you're probably not going to be in danger. You're probably not going to require support, and you're probably not going to die. But you know what you're also not going to do? You're almost certainly not going to kill anyone. You've got a somewhat effective angle here, but you've still got a limited sight line. You don't have multiple angles on the enemy. You've only got this one angle because you're shooting at the same angle the Ramatra has. So there's loads of spots the enemies can abuse to just not get shot, like this Mercy right here, which are pretty obvious and easy to abuse. You also have the problem of the Sigma being in the front, of course, which not only means he's going to be shielding off and sucking up a lot of your arrows, but also you can't even see the people behind them, and you need to be able to watch these people to see where their movements are going, so that you can try and land a shot. And even if you predict where the soldier is running, for example, who's probably the easiest target, maybe you go to flick shot him and catch him in the head, but as you flick over to the left, this Sigma just walks to the right and body blocks the arrow. And it's like, well, that was going to be a kill, but he just got in the way. You know, you can see if you just sat here and just kept lobbing arrows, you're probably not going to get anything done. You're not going to die, but you're not really going to do anything. You're going to be getting damage on the scoreboard, I guess, but it won't actually mean anything. So the fact that you're like, okay, I'm not going to achieve anything from here, I am going to climb up here. Even though there is a risk to doing this, even though there is a potential for you to be in danger for doing this, even though there are consequences for if this goes wrong, you still did it. And I just think that's good. You know, again, there's a lot of players that just get in this mindset where they think that they should never do anything like this. And of course, it's all about doing it at the right times and within reasonability, but never doing it is not the answer, because again, at that point, you can only win if the enemies are dumb. It's that simple. Anyway, so, now you're up here. So what are the downsides of this? Well, there's the obvious that you're a bit further away from your escape route now, which is one thing, but it's not that much of a distance. It's just that because you're Hanzo, you don't have crazy movement, so you can't really get out of here super quick if you do get stranded up on this high ground. Another thing is as well that this is a really good angle. It's a better angle than the Ramatra has, and you get a better chance of getting a kill from here. However, there is one problem with it. That being that we can see 3 people right now. Well, 2 really, but you can kind of see Mercy. So we know what the Soldier, the Juno, and the Mercy are doing, and we have a chance of killing all 3 of them. We don't know what the Sigma's doing. We can't really see from this angle, it's too steep. And you might notice that's 4 people, not 5. Where's the 5th one? Uh-oh. Now, this isn't your fault. This is, if anything, like, this is mostly the Ash's fault for peeking this doorway when she is alone and she has no support. And arguably it's also Juno and Lifeweaver's fault for ditching the Ash and leaving her wide open to help the Ramatra and to help you. Arguably. This is not really your fault. But I just want to point out that this is something that should stick in your head as a warning sign. Whenever you're in a situation where, sure, you can see where 3 people are here, that doesn't mean you should give up this angle. You can see 3 of the 5 people on the enemy team. When you're in a situation where it's like, I don't know what some of the enemies on the enemy team are doing right now. I don't know where they are. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they might be doing to my teammates. Whenever that is the case, it's not like you should immediately be like, oh, it's time for me to jump back. I'm going to run away. Because obviously, it is literally impossible to know where every enemy is at all the times and where all your allies are, and no one can do that. You can get better at it, especially when you use sound cues that fills in a lot of gaps, but you never get the complete picture. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you should have this voice in the back of your head that starts out quiet when you're like, okay, I'm going for a flank, I'm going for I'm going for a play, I can see this many enemies, and it's like, okay, 3. In the back of your head, you need a quiet little voice saying, I shouldn't stay here too long. There are still 2 enemies that I don't know where they are and what they're doing, and they could be doing something really bad to my teammates right now, and I literally would not know. And again, that doesn't mean you have to give up immediately, it just means you have to have that in the back of your head, and the longer you stay there, and the more you lose track of where the enemies are, the more that voice has to get louder and say, okay, I now don't only know where 2 enemies are, wait, now I only know where 1 enemy is, I literally don't know where 4 out of the 5 people on the enemy team are, and I don't know where my teammates are, and when it gets to that point, obviously that's when you're like, okay, it's time for me to get back, it's time for me to get out. But yeah, this is not necessarily a massive critique of you necessarily, because this is pretty reasonable. I'm just putting that in your head because I think it's important, because you make a slight overestimation here, I think you go a little bit overboard. It's really quite minor, but I do think it's important to get this in your head. Because, okay, you can see 3 people. Okay, the Sigma backs off, so you can see 4 people now. Obviously, I don't think you know the cast is in the back, but, other than that. And unfortunately, we have a hard time with this Juno. And we nearly die, but your life wither bails you out. Okay, so let's watch that back, because that was really quick. And we didn't really get to drink it all in. So, why did that go wrong? Well, some of it is just unfortunate, but some of it is your fault. So, you take this angle, but unfortunately, this is fine, but it's not surprising. The enemies know you're here, especially because you have to point to the railings to get a good sight line. So, right now, the Juno is looking at you and wants to fight you. At first, you make the right decision. You're like, okay, don't get me wrong, I should be wary of that Juno, but also, that Juno is probably the target I will have the most trouble to hit. However, the target I am the most likely to be able to get a kill on is the soldier. Even though he's pocketed, I can just one-shot him. His head is a bit easier to shoot than the Mercy or the Juno. His movement is far more predictable. I can see where he wants to go. He's not looking at me. He's too busy shooting my tank. Okay, I'm going to go for the shot on the soldier, and... Huh? So I'm genuinely kind of lost as to what happened here, but I'm gonna guess that what happened here is that you drawing back the bow, changed your mind and decided to go for the Mercy. But this is why I don't like that. You can sometimes do, aim, swaps, but it's always a dangerous game you're playing. You only want to do that if you know you can, land the shot. If you're, really confident you're going to land it. Because what you have to do that makes the shot way harder here when you change targets is this whole time you're drawing back your bow. See if I can go back just a small amount. Of course I can't go back just a small amount. I never can go back just a small amount. This whole time that you're drawing back your bow... Yeah. You're looking at the soldier and observing his patterns and trying to get a shot on him, and then you throw it all away. You're looking at, okay, the soldier's moving to the left, he's trying to back up a bit, and he's going to walk forward a bit again to peek the tank again to keep shooting in a moment, so I could probably put my crosshair here. Oh, wait, hang on, Mercy. And all that information you are gathering on what the soldier is doing so that you can get a more accurate shot all gets thrown out and gets 0 value. I know it's a bit weird to talk about pure information as value, but I do think it's actually, important to state. Having information is valuable in Overwatch. There are so many situations where you can't make punishing plays or you can't get certain kills without information. And so the fact that you spent time effectively getting value by getting information on the soldier, and then you threw all that value in the trash and just said, actually, I don't want to use any of that information I just spent multiple seconds peeking the entire enemy team to be able to get. I am now going to throw all that away to go for a shot on the Mercy. Now, don't get me wrong, if you could kill the Mercy right here, right now, that would be great. In fact, the Mercy would probably be the single best target for you to get a kill on. The problem with that is that you're not going to kill her. And it's not just because, oh, aim bad. It's because you have no information on what this Mercy wants to do. She hasn't used Guardian Angel in a while, so maybe she's going to use Guardian Angel. And hey, maybe your arrow here would have grazed her foot if she did. But honestly, considering that the enemies are so close and nothing is like coming for her yet, she probably will not hit Guardian Angel. You don't know if she's going to walk forwards, walk back, walk sideways. You have no information on what this Mercy wants to do because we haven't been observing her, and she isn't really in a situation where her movement options would be restricted. She could go anywhere she wanted. There is not really much here to tell us the Mercy is going to be at this position at this time, whereas we have more information on where the soldier might be. So we go for the shot on the Mercy, and it's not even close. And now the Juno is picking a fight with us, and we no longer have the opportunity to shoot the Mercy or the soldier, so we're just going to try shooting the Juno that has been fighting us the whole time. So, the reason you ignored the Juno at first is pretty reasonable, and that's obviously because this Juno's looking at you. That means she's going to be mashing keys, 80-80 strafing, and to be quite frank, I genuinely think this is an important thing to get in your head as a Hanzo player. Unless the enemies are dumb and are going to go for an obvious play that you can easily read, a lot of the times, if the enemies know you're there, that introduces more and more RNG into whether your shots land. Like, actual RNG. Like, not even like, oh, it's more hard to land the shot, but actually landing the shot is luck. Because if people are just mashing keys, if they're just going W, W, A, 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 S, D, S, D, S, D, S, D, S, D, A, A, whatever, and they're just mashing keys to move in random directions to throw you off because they know that you're trying to shoot them, then landing that headshot is going to be completely random. Unless they fall into a predictable pattern, which some people do, but some people don't, unless they fall into that predictable pattern, you will not be able to get the kill. It's not even a skill issue, it's a luck issue. And so, to be able to get the shots that you actually can consistently hit on a pure skill basis, you need to find targets that aren't looking at you and don't have a lot of movement options, so that you can think about all of their possible movement options, think about which one they're most likely to use in the current situation, think about where that places their head by the time the arrow reaches, and then fire at that location. But of course, right here, what we're doing instead is we're looking at someone who is flying in the air, who is going at an increased speed compared to normal, who has a really small hitbox and can move in any direction, who is also shooting us, and we are now attempting to land a headshot on this target. That is going to be rough. And I understand why you're doing it, obviously. You're in a position now where she's the only one you can shoot, but I still kind of don't like it. I think, honestly, you could maybe, if you're feeling cheeky, go for a Storm Arrow here and maybe try and kill her with Storm Arrow. But if you're not going for that, if you're not feeling that, and to be fair, she has Mercy Pocket. Like if you do go for the Storm Arrow, so like I don't think that would work. Yeah, I was thinking about that for a second, but yeah, no, I don't even think Storm Arrow would be a great idea. I think you either tank the shots from the Juno and hope and trust the Life Weaver to heal you, or you ditch. I think and like wait for another opportunity. I think that's what you do. Because, I'm not going to lie, you can see what I mean here. These shots, when I show these back to you in slow motion, they probably look embarrassing. You're probably holding your head in your hands like, oh my god, how did I fumble that so hard? But again, it's not even a thing of, oh, it's because your aim is so bad. Because there's a few moments where you get some really good shots in this game. But ultimately, when you get those good shots, it's always because you see a target who is not aware that you can shoot them, or not aware that you're there, and then you observe their movements, observe their habits, predict where their head is going to be, and shoot where their head is going to be, and you get them. That's how you get them every time when you get a good shot. And whenever you have these moments where it's like, where's the target? Oh, I can't shoot why can't I land a shot to save my life? What's going on? Every single time, it's because there's someone who just, like, is looking at you and is mashing movement abilities. And it's like, of course you're not going to catch them. It's not even I just can't aim good enough. It's a situation where you should not be trying to shoot people who are this evasive, who also are aware that you are trying to shoot them. They are just going to introduce as much RNG BS into you trying to shoot them as possible, so that it essentially just becomes a slot machine, whether you actually land the arrow or not to the head. So yeah, I genuinely think you probably ignore the Juno even though she's shooting you here, and you either just try and tank it and get a shot on the soldier or the Mercy, depending on the positioning, or you ditch earlier. But of course now you start ditching, and I will say, That was a good shot. That was so close to a headshot. And let me explain. This is actually a great example of exactly what I was talking about. About, you know, needing to be able to observe the movements and habits of someone first. Because you go for this jump, and you're looking, you've got your crosshair, you've got your arrow drawn, you're looking dead at the Juno. Perfect. This is the great place to start. Now, that's obviously not where you want to fire, but that's where you want your crosshair to start. Because right now, you don't know what the Juno wants to do. You just want to have your crosshair ready so that you can flick it to a certain direction and then let go. And of course, you hold it on her, and now you're moving it up and to the left. And I know why you're doing that, because you saw that the glide ran out. This is your chance. This is when she's going to be an easier target to shoot. So as you slowly fall, you wait for the line to be level with Juno's head. Move it up just a little bit, and you fire it right here because you can clearly read the Juno is moving to the left. She wants to regroup with her team. She could go to the right, but she'd be isolated, and it would be weird for her to start going left and then suddenly swerve right. She's probably not going to do that. She could go backwards, but she'd just hit a wall. She could go forwards, but she'd just give you an easier shot. So it only makes sense for her to go left. And hey, there is a 1 in a million chance this Juno randomly hits right and then goes left again, and you miss this arrow. But most likely this Juno just holds left and her head walks right into that arrow. Now, unfortunately, you do get scammed here. Because, I mean, that looks so good, right? But unfortunately, this is a body shot. I'm just saying, man, not that I'm much of a Hanzo enjoyer, but like, I mean, as a design, I mean, I kind of enjoy Hanzo as like playing Hanzo, but I don't think he's super well designed. But I will say, like, holy hell, how is that not a headshot? Like, that arrow literally dinks her helmet, and then the arrow appears in her chest. Like, how does that one happen? Okay, right. Yeah, you did kind of get screwed there. You deserved that headshot. But either way, you still got the body shot. Let's get back to your perspective. And, of course, oh yeah, the other thing here is, of course, you land on top of the Sigma. And this is what I mean earlier about, like, having that warning bell on the back of your head of, I don't know where other people are. You didn't know where the Sigma was anymore. You knew he was somewhere near main, but you didn't really know what he's doing. And you didn't know that during this time you're fighting the Juno, what happened was your Ram had to dip back because you were taking healing resources, and he was taking too much damage to be kept up by Juno alone. So he had to dip back with Nemesis form. He also helped out with the cast that was in the back line, so thankfully he doesn't kill the Ashe. He gets killed by a Ramatra. But that means that Sigma now can just run right down main now that your tank isn't here, and you now have lost your escape route, but you're not even aware of this, so you just jump down as if the Sigma isn't here, and then it's like, oh wait, hang on a minute, that's a Sigma in my face. And obviously you seem very shocked. And I'm not going to, like, proper clown on you for this, because, again, I understand why you had to take that angle. I do think you had the right idea. I think you maybe just stayed on it a little bit too long, and you should have disengaged once, like, the only viable target was Juno, and you know you couldn't land a shot on that Juno. Now, obviously, thankfully, your Life Whipper bails you out here, and I will say, at the very least, this is not perfect, but the fact that you do quickly hit Storm Arrows, you hit most of your Storm Arrows here, even if they're just body shots, you hit them, and you're getting ready to get back. Honestly, maybe you even live, even if Life Weaver doesn't bail you out. Maybe. So that's... how do I put it? It is embarrassing you were put in that situation, and you should think to yourself, oh my god, how did I end up there? But when you were in that situation, honestly, for as embarrassing as that looked, I don't think that was too bad. You know, you hit Storm Arrow, which you did immediately, practically. You landed most of your shots, despite the fact you had no idea what was going on. Even if they were just body shots and it was a tank up close, even still, that's pretty good. And it seems like the Sigma was also kind of lost, thankfully, as well. Oh, that was fast. Oh, right, that's another thing. You need to charge your arrows more. You need to, like, chill a little bit. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, let me just play that back for a moment. Does this look like, you know, calm and calculated aim? In fairness, you land some shots, and hey, you get the headshot here. That one's good. That was a good shot. But do you see how most of those shots, you're shaking your crosshair left and right, and you're not even fully charging your bow? You have to charge it longer now after the mid-season. They gave Hanzo his one-shot back, but they shrunk down his arrows again, and they made it so that it takes longer to fully charge his bow. You need to hold it for nearly a full second now to get the full charge. I think you're basically half charging these arrows at the moment. So you're losing out on a lot of damage, you're losing out on a lot of travel time, which is making the shots harder than they need to be, and you're also giving yourself less time to think and observe what the enemies are doing, which is giving you an even lower chance of actually landing your shots. At every moment here, unfortunately, until that last shot where you're actually observing the soldiers running this way, I will follow him and then shoot. Until that last shot, at almost every moment there, you're just kind of flinging arrows into the battlefield without really thinking, how is this going to hit the opponent? Where are the opponents going and where should I be aiming? You're just kind of seeing enemies and throwing arrows in their general direction, you know? Oh, also, it looks like you reacted here, thankfully. There was an unfortunate circumstance here where I actually am going to go as far as to say I don't think I will blame you at all for this. You nearly died there, because Widowmaker had that very thin angle you can just see now on you, and she nearly landed a headshot on you, but thankfully she missed. There are some people who maybe say I should call you out for that and not being aware of that angle, but to be fair, it is very rare that you get sniped from that angle, and the fact that you nearly did is, like, mostly just really unlucky. I mean, obviously it isn't literally luck, because, I mean, obviously that angle's always there, but it is extremely rare, at least in my experience, that anyone ever gets put in a position where they have to walk around that corner and then someone snipes them around the back of the head. So, like, you know, maybe on one hand I could say, oh, be aware of the fact that there's an angle behind you where you could get sniped, but especially because they weren't even on Widowmaker earlier, I think I'm going to give you credit there and say, like, yeah, you know what, no, like, that's completely fair. And I will even say, I would say it's completely fair that you actually go to deal with this Widowmaker, or at least you plan to. Because, you know, some people might say, no, what the hell are you doing? You already have point. Why, like, peek the Widowmaker? She's just going to blow your head off. But here's the thing. I actually don't mind this, because here's the thing. We already have the whole team here, all 5 players. Like, let me double check that. I'm 99% sure that no one is dead. Wait, where's Ash? Actually, oh, she's inside me. So yes, that confirms it. The entire team is alive right now. Not to mention, we've basically already capped the point, and as far as we can see, the enemies are nowhere near the point. There is, like, no way you're losing this point. Even if you get headshot here, if you peek and you just get your head blown off, you're still getting point. And then when you respawn, what? You respawn literally right there? Like, that's not even that bad. Like, obviously you shouldn't die on purpose, but, like, if there's a situation where you don't mind risking dying to maybe get a good benefit, it's right here. Because if they kill you, they don't manage to stagger their team, all they really get is a bit of ult charge on fucking Widowmaker, where Infrasight is your ult, you know? And you just get back in the fight almost immediately. It practically doesn't matter. Whereas if you kill Widow here, it staggers the enemy team because they won't have one of their DPS ready for the next team fight. It allows you to push forward because until the Widowmaker is cleared, your supports aren't safe to, like, push forward. Obviously, they could just get their head blown off, which limits the areas that the tank can go. So clearing this Widowmaker allows your tank to make more space. And as I say, like, at the end of the day, they have far more to lose by taking this angle than you have. So it's good that you're trying to clear the Widowmaker. Now here is a masterclass in what I was talking about earlier, in terms of your aim being more about the planning needing to get better than the, like, hitting head to get better. Beautiful. And, you know, there's a good reason why that shot hit. This is exactly what I mean by, like, I think it's something that's honestly understated in importance to, like, pay attention to. How many times landing a shot is luck and how many times landing it is skill in Overwatch. Because, honestly, there are some situations, like, you know, when you can get into fights up close on Hanzo, and someone can get right in your face at point-blank range, and you can spam storm arrows and just go headshot, headshot, dead. You know, and they're just like, holy fuck, I tried to dive you and you just deleted my health bar with 2 instant headshots with storm arrows, and, like, maybe I was a tracer, like, teleporting around you and jumping on your head and all that, and somehow you just landed every shot, and I'm like, oh my god, what the hell? But honestly, that is honestly a situation that's more luck-based than a situation like this. As even though this might look like complete BS luck, considering how far away that soldier was, this is actually a better example of a skill-based headshot. And do you want to know why? It's because we found a target, We observed their habit, that they kept spamming AD, but not in random intervals. They did it in very steady intervals, which means it was predictable which side he would be at what time. It was predictable that he wanted to poke at us, so you knew he would keep holding the angle. Because you're so far back, you know he probably hasn't seen you. He maybe just saw Ash, or just saw that someone, but he doesn't know who is there, so he doesn't know he can get his head blown off yet. And on top of all of that, you fire before you even see him because you got a rhythm. You got the rhythm in the head of AD. Okay, he's on the right side right now, even though I can't see him. So if I let go now, he's going to press left now, walk right into my arrow, dink. It looks bullshit, but that shot right here there is genuinely probably the most skill-based shot in this entire game that you got. That one is what I want to see more of. You found your target, you observed their habits, you observed their weaknesses, and you took your shot. And you took the shot only once you had all the information you needed to make the shot as easy as physically possible. And you can see why it's important here, because right here we're kind of back to miss. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to grill you too hard for the fact you're missing here, but, you know why you're missing here, don't you? Because you have, the only information you're working on is there appears to be enemies here. You know, where this Winston wants to go, or where he is going, or what abilities he has, or what the Juno has, or anything like that, you have no idea. And so you can't land the shot, even though that shot is quote-unquote easier, in the biggest quotation marks ever, than the shot you got on the soldier. The soldier one was a way further away shot and a way smaller target. You couldn't even see at the time you fired, and yet you landed it with ease because you had the information. You knew where they were standing, what they wanted to do, you knew their habits, you knew their rhythms, and so you fired where they were going to be. You didn't even have to look, you just had to know. But here, you can look, but you can't know. There's too much variance, there's too much of a mess, you don't have enough of a, read on what the enemies want to do, and so you cannot land a shot. I mean, here's honestly another pretty good example. This is not bad, to be fair. This one is, nowhere near as bad. But, you didn't land the shot on here, and you might think to yourself, how in the world can I be in a situation where I can one-shot headshot snipe a soldier from here that I can't even see, who's standing all the way, back here? How can I land that shot and then immediately afterwards miss 2 shots in a row on the same soldier standing in the absolute open and slowly walking away? But the reason why you miss these ones is because this, to be fair, this one's not as much your fault. This is the other time that it could be hard to get information on people. It's just when they play weird. I'll be real. I'm for the most part, I'm doing this oh, you can be better, you can do better. But there are some situations where people just make weird goddamn decisions, often stupid ones, but because they don't make sense, it's hard for you to read their intention. So, this soldier here, I have no idea why he's holding so far left, because that makes his escape route so far away. He's got so little cover, and the fact that he sees you and doesn't immediately book it, and actually keeps firing for a second, I have no idea what's going through his head. But unfortunately for you, because the way he's playing is so thoroughly dumb and confusing, you can't really read what he's about to do, and he gets away with it, which is unfortunate. It happens sometimes. But that's not even to criticize you, it's more to demonstrate my point. And I really want to keep hammering it in, not only because it will help you aim better, but also because every time you flop on Hanzo, it is evident why it happens. It's always because you did not have information and you did not know what the enemies wanted. And we're about to see an amazing example. Okay. There are so many options that Hanzo can take from this position. The safest, most boring option is just camp on payload with supports and play it slow. But obviously you want to spice things up a little bit. So one thing you could do as well is you could just push up main and look for a snipe on someone who might get caught in the middle here where there's not much cover. But of course that would be a little bit rough, because obviously you would be... Your Lifeweaver could see you, but you wouldn't be able to go very far and you would be kind of alone to start. But I think that's fine because you have wall climb, so you're literally surrounded with the free escape routes that you don't even have to use cooldowns to reach. So I think that's fine. I think you can kind of try and go for main if you're confident in yourself. If you don't want to go for main, then I think you can go through here and slowly clear out this angle by first making sure you get a read on where the enemies are by looking through here. You've got a health pack to fall back to here. Lifeweaver can maybe come with you, and you can peek this angle and slowly drive people out of here so that you can walk forward here, and once you can get to here, you can obviously come forward with tank and maybe force them off the high ground here. It's a slow incremental process going this way, but it's another relatively safe bet that might take some space from the enemies if you play it well. There's also just running right through here, which I wouldn't recommend considering you're probably just gonna, like, the second you turn the corner, explode and not have enough time to realize what's coming at you and, like, get a shot off. But you take an option I wouldn't have even considered, if I'm gonna give some credit. And that is, not only did you already wall climb up here, immediately get shot, have no time to shoot at anyone, or even draw back your bow and fall back down, but on top of that, even though you just did it and it just did not work and the enemies already know your trick, you go for it again. And I just don't know about that one. But you come up here, and, well, 50-50 this one. You probably could not have gotten out of this alive the second you were in this position. This is awful. If we take a good look, you still are gathering information on where the enemies even are and what they're even doing. So you can't go for a shot yet. Not to mention, I think your bow is nearly fully drawn, but I think it needs a little bit more time. Maybe. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell by eye. But I think so, just by feel. The soldier isn't looking at you right now, but they could clearly see you and shoot at you if they wanted to. And you have this pharmacy, which not only has a height advantage on you, but also you just isolated yourself from both your supports. Neither Lifeweaver nor Juno can see you anymore. You just put yourself in this little cubby where no one can see you except the enemies. And you've also immediately get away from your escape route. So this is terrible. This is awful. Honestly, once you're in this situation, you know what I think the best thing you can do is? Just run away immediately. Literally, just don't even take the fight. But unfortunately, you panic, you just fire this arrow into a wall because, of course, you couldn't land a shot with that little time to gather information and know what the enemies are doing. So you just fire it into a wall nowhere near anyone. That's not even like a dunking on you. It's just like, again, if you put yourself in this situation, it's going to happen. And then, unfortunately, can you see what's wrong with this image? Like, I get what you're doing. If you don't climb up here, you cannot fight this Farah. But do you see why I think you just don't fight the Farah? Because, like, if I play this in slow motion, do I even have to ask you, like, oh, do you think they land this shot? You're a stationary target at point-blank range that can't fight back the second you hit that wall climb. You know, another thing is, Farah is a terrible target to go for as Hanzo. And it's not because she's mercy pocketed, although that certainly makes things worse. The reason this is a terrible target for you to go for is because, well, actually, little pop quiz, little, like, run it through your brain. Look on the screen right now at Farah's hood. Why do you think I might want to draw attention to Farah's hood right now? What about this hood suggests you really shouldn't be taking this fight, even ignoring the position? Let's say you are back to full health, and let's say you get onto that high ground and Farah somehow misses. And maybe Mercy, for whatever reason, just ditches her. So now it's a 1v1. Why would this still be terrible for you? Give you a few seconds to think about it. And, okay, the reason why is because if you look at the screen right now, there are 4 things that are going to make it really, really hard for you to land your shots. The Farah has fuel remaining, which means she can fly in any direction she wants, and she moves faster while flying, which is going to make her strafes harder to follow. So already, she can strafe in any direction she wants, including up and down, and she can strafe faster than most people, making it more difficult to predict where her head is going to be, especially because the closer she is, the more movement you have to do on your mouse's sake, and of course you're at point-blank range. It's going to be very difficult to land a headshot. The second problem is that she has jump jets, which means she could at any moment, if you were about to land a shot, just yoink herself up to the skybox, and your arrow is guaranteed going to miss, and she can still fire rockets at you and chase you down. The third problem is that she has concussive blast, which you could use to either suddenly jolt her into your face, or suddenly jolt you away to make you miss. And the fourth problem is that she has jet dash, which not only means that she could, again, immediately jolt out of the way of an arrow and dodge it mid-air, but also means that if you tried to run away, she could easily chase you. Again, it is so important that as Hanzo, you want to get a read on the people that you're going to kill before you go for the kill. And the problem here is you physically cannot have a read on this Farah. You can't. I'm not even saying that as a you're not good enough. Even if you were great, I don't think you can read what this Farah wants to do. Because you can get the general idea that she wants to fight you and she wants to dodge your arrows, but how does she want to dodge your arrows? And there's not really a good answer for that. Maybe she wants to jet dash. Maybe she wants to concussive blast. Maybe she wants to jet jump. Maybe she won't even use a single cooldown at all and she'll just strafe midair and fly. Maybe she shoots under you and then shoots above you. Maybe she shoots above you and then shoots under you. There is no predicting it. So you're basically putting yourself in a situation where the only option is to panic and flail arrows around in her face and hope one of them hits her head. That's your best bet now. This is a really bad situation to put yourself in. So, let's go back to your perspective. She gets her free shot and you have 69 HP. Now, thankfully for you, this Farah is kind of terrible. To be expected at this rank. So, you have trouble following her because of the movement stuff, as I said before. The jet dash throws you off, you can't land your arrow. You go for another one mid-air. I want to point out, Farah should not miss this shot. You should be dead here, but thankfully for you, the Farah... Like, I think when I saw this earlier, the Farah, like, it looks like they literally, like... I think they might have hit their mouse pad. No joke. Like, I genuinely think you lived here because the Farah hit their mouse pad. Because they're, like, crosshair was following you, and then it just jolts and misses. It's like, okay, look. So you do the leap. Crosshairs on you, crosshairs on... I don't know. So thankfully for you, the Farah's really bad and doesn't land that point-blank direct hit with, like, the biggest projectile in the game. You're lucky you live there. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter much, because if we go back to your perspective, you've got bigger problems. Do you see the bigger problem? No, it's not the Mercy, although you were very close to laying a headshot there, I think, which is unfortunate. But there's another problem on the screen. Winton. Winton... I just want to point out, to really hammer this home, I think you get the point by now, but I really just want to point this out, because I feel like it's like the perfect crescendo to the point I'm making. Winston never kills someone because he just was better or whatever. It's never like, oh, I just hit shots and so you're dead. He auto-aims. When Winston kills someone, he always gets the kill because he punished you for doing something dumb or risky. You never get a kill as Winston because you just jump in there and diff them because you're built different. And similar to Hanzo, but obviously in a tank context rather than a DPS context, you observe the enemy's behaviours and patterns and you look for mistakes in their positioning or things they do that are really predictable and punishable. And then you punish them. What happened there is that you put yourself in a literally unlivable position, which is a free kill for Winston. So even though that Farah was terrible and missed all of those free shots on you and only landed one of them when you literally could not fight back, you still died because you were close enough to Winston that he could just jump on you, and you put yourself in a position where none of your supports could help you. So Winston just sweeps up that free kill. Alright then. So now you swap to Cass. And you immediately get stuck on those metal bar things. But yeah, and you shoot at your own Juno. Yep. Anyway. So. This first death on Cass, I'll give you this. This is really unfortunate. Like, if I want to be giga nitpicky, I would say too many people were dead. You should have just played this corner and then the Farah wouldn't have killed you. And I do think that's true. I do think it's better that you play this corner and play it slow. But overall, I think the second best play was to do what you did and play this corner. It is just really unfortunate that this Farah just fucking goes deep, goes right into your face and blows you up immediately. That is really unfortunate. But yeah, at least you take the Farah with you. You land a flashbang, you land a shot, and the Ramatra cleans up. So that's something. Now, I'm not going to lie, I think your Cass was a bit more disappointing. I noticed this a little bit on your Hanzo, but especially on Cass. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, because maybe it's just your aiming style, but I feel like you shake your crosshair way more than you need to. It's not so noticeable now, but there's going to be some points at other points where you're going to see what I mean. Like, he's just shaking the crosshair like crazy. Okay, I like this, I like this. So, if we look back at this, so you hear the soldier pop visor and you hear all the ults being pressed and you get into cover and you still play this angle where you can still help your team by pressuring the Winston to kind of force him out. But then what I don't like is this. I know this seems really small, but I'm really going to harp on this. What the hell are you doing? Now, I know what you're doing. I know this is a rhetorical question. You're going to walk in here and take cover here. That's fine. This is not a bad idea to take cover here, because if the soldier's dumb, but if he wasn't dumb, he could jump down here and chase you down because you're isolated. That is true. So I do like walking here. The thing is, you don't have to turn around to do that, you know. You could just face the Winston and walk backwards and to the left. And I know this sounds really small, but now you have no idea if the soldier follows you. Like, if the soldier right now decided, wait, hang on a minute, wasn't there a Cass here? Turns around and starts chasing you and starts shooting at you, you wouldn't even know. You would not even know until the first Helix rocket already shot you, which is 140 damage, if I remember correctly, with Mercy damage boost. That would be 14, 154, 168, 182. You would have lost 182 HP, so you'd be down to like 90-ish HP before you even knew that the soldier started following you. At that point, he only needs to land like 4 or 5 shots to kill you. So yeah, I don't like this. Again, the soldier isn't going to do it because he's dumb. But if this soldier is smart, he can just turn around, boom, Helix rocket, boom, 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 dead. And at least if you're facing him, you can try and dodge the Helix rocket. You can try and time the dodge roll, not only to dodge it, or maybe to tank it, you know, with the damage resistance. You can try and fight back and maybe dink him. You know, it's not likely, but maybe you get the double headshot. Maybe you can flashbang him if he gets close enough. You could fight back, but because you're turning away, you don't even know what's happening behind you now. And I'd also like to point out that you turn away and reload with 4 bullets left in the clip. You shot 2 bullets at the Winston and just gave up. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. The Winston's probably not going to die, but, like, it's as I said, you're still helping your team here. You're not going to kill the Winston, but the Winston only is going to jump out when he takes enough damage that he has to jump out. And if this Winston does not take enough damage that he has to jump out, then he's just going to keep walking forward until he walks onto your supports and kills them all. Now, thankfully, that doesn't happen, but I'm just saying, you've got to be pressuring the Winston here. Like, it's free value. Take it. Don't waste time not only not shooting at anything while you could to stare at a wall, but also looking away from where all the enemies are so you don't know what's happening. That's another big problem I have that I see consistently in a lot of the games that I spectate, is I see people who, in theory, if you showed them the battlefield, if you showed them, okay, this enemy is here, you are this character, they are this, they are that, they could probably tell you the answer. They could probably tell you, oh, at this point I should probably shoot this and then hit this button to do that. That's what, a lot of the times I believe that these players know what the right thing to do is if you give them the picture. The problem is that they don't realize that they have to give themselves that picture. They have to give themselves the opportunity to see what's going on to even make a decision about the game first. And when you don't give yourself the opportunity to see what's going on, when you don't pay attention to what's going on around you, when you waste time staring at walls, it just increases the chances that you're going to miss something really important and make a really dumb, idiotic-looking play, not because you didn't know what you should have done, but because you didn't even look to see the thing that says, oh, I should do this now, you know? I know this seems really small, but, like, turning your back to the enemies is, like, a terrible habit. I think it does a lot more than people give it credit for to, like, ruin their games, is when people just do not pay attention to it and do not look at the enemies. Especially, like, you should try to put yourself in positions where you can see as many enemies as possible as well. Like, you should, obviously, it's not like, there's going to be some situations where you're not going to be able to see all the enemies, and it's not even your fault, it's just you're doing the best you can. But you should always try to put yourself in positions where you can see as many enemies as possible, and you're turning your back to as few enemies as possible. And turning your back to all of them like this for no reason is just, I do not like it.
Hey, so a quick little addendum on this point I'd just like to add in post. I do go a little bit overboard here, I'll admit. In hindsight, this really isn't as bad as I make it out to be, at least in this particular instance. But I want to explain why I go on so hard on this, because this is something I've decided I probably should go harder on in some of these videos. Basically, when I started watching a lot of these bronze, silver, and gold VOD reviews, I obviously consistently saw people looking in questionable directions, and that's kind of to be expected. But I remember I had this sort of internal conflict a little bit at first, where there'd be so many times that someone would miss something, you know? But in fairness, from their perspective, just with the camera movements they chose to use, they never ever saw it. It was never on their screen. And part of me wants to think, is it fair for me to sit here and be like, you idiot, you didn't notice that, when they never even looked in that direction, so they couldn't have seen it? Even if I think, well, I wanted to look in that direction, unfortunately, I'm not the one playing, you know. And I thought maybe I'll just do it for sound cues. But when it's just a pure game sense thing, when it's just my game sense is telling me, hey, you might want to look in this direction, but they don't do it, and then they don't look and something bad happens, maybe I should hold my tongue. Maybe it's just one of those things where it's hard to say. But the more and more I keep seeing people doing this all the time in a lot of the VODs I watch, the more and more I'm thinking, I need to clamp down on this. I need to stop being soft on it. Because I really, really do think this whole, like, not looking in the right direction thing obviously becomes a huge problem. That being said, I mean, being realistic, this VOD is a lot better than a lot of the previous ones have been for that issue. And to be fair, this is probably like the only time you do it, and you only do it for a brief moment in a relatively understandable circumstance. It really isn't that bad. I guess I just want to make it clear, that's why I want to be so harsh on this, both because I kind of overreacted a bit, but also I'm kind of leaning into going a bit overboard on this, because I feel like it's something that I've brushed off in the past, and now I'm thinking I shouldn't have brushed it off. It's something I should probably have made more of a point to say, hey, you're missing shit because you're not looking in the right direction. Sorry for the interruption. Back to the video.
Nice flash. Don't chase it. Well, at least you're gonna live. You're gonna live. Okay, we're looking at the Mercy. I like that. Obviously, we're not gonna get the shot on her, but it's good that we're looking at her. Got a couple dinks as well. We're waiting for our team to regroup, that's fine. We're looking at the Juno, unfortunately we missed, but if we hit, that would probably kill. Okay, we're missing a lot now, and this is what I mean with, like, maybe it's just me, but I really don't think this crosshair shaking is helping you. Oh no, I didn't mean to press that again. Okay. So, can you see the shaking I'm on about? It seems like you're like, whoa, 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 what's going on? You know, like after every shot. And I think it's actually making it harder for you to follow what's going on. Ooh. That Pharah was scary. That was unlucky, but thankfully you did get the kill and you got out alive, thanks to your Life Weaver. Anyway, I like this. So, you weren't getting a whole lot done down main because you were missing a lot of your shots, and you were panicking a bit, and you were also, when you were landing shots, you were almost always landing them on the Winston. It's not that you should not shoot the Winston, but you obviously know you get the least value out of shooting the Winston. Now again, I must emphasize, I am not saying do not ever shoot tank. That's obviously not what I'm saying. Some people really take this to the extreme and they will flame their teammates because they are shooting tank, even if they're in a situation where they literally physically cannot do anything but shoot tank without feeding. But the second an opportunity presents itself that you could potentially change your angle so that you could shoot someone other than a tank, you should take that opportunity if you can take it without realistically dying. Considering that your Life Weaver is with you and supporting you, well, I say that, I think it's about a ditch. Let me double check. Actually, yeah, he's about a ditch. Never mind. Okay, well, that, and considering that the enemies are gone from here, because Pharah was the only one back here, and no one else is around, and you can tell by the how it's quieter around here, that no one else is chilling in the back here, no one's on high ground, everyone's on the, like, stuck down main. Perfect time to go for a high noon flank. That being said, I think this is a bit slow. This isn't too bad. Soldier's an idiot, so you get him. So that's a kill, and you cancel the res on the with the Mercy, which is good. Dumb that she went for it in the first place, but you got it. But I just want to wind back and look at that high noon again. Okay, so first of all, I think you hit it sooner. Like, you know, if you want to do the normal high noon, I'd wait until the second you can see them. Like, literally, don't even, like, don't wait and think, oh, okay, now I'll hit it. Because I think there's just more and more time for them to realize, wait, there's a cast behind us. Like, obviously they don't, but they easily could have. The other thing is, though, as well, is I actually am going to propose a second alternative. You know, the first alternative, obviously, what you did, which is, like, you know, walk all the way up here, sit, wait, look for a bit. Okay, now, and get one kill. And then, like, from here, I think if you, like, the second you get like, a peek of them, if you do it immediately, and they panic, maybe you get two. Especially because at this moment, the Juno is a bit far from cover, and she doesn't know where the high noon's going to be coming from immediately, so she might not immediately dive back there. So that might work. But there's one other option I think I like even more. To be fair, this one, I'm not going to say this is absolutely the objectively correct one, because Cass is not my forte necessarily, but I personally like this idea. I think that you should stand here and hit high noon here. You might be like, I can't see anything here. Yes, however, you might remember that high noon got a change recently where it loses damage resistance the longer it goes, however it gains speed. So that means you can sit here with high noon looking at no one, and no one can see you, and no one even knows you're here, and they're like, where's the high noon? And they're looking all around, and you know what? One of two things will happen. Either they'll spend so long looking for the high noon that they'll just let this Ramatra run over their tank because the Juno and the Mercy are just looking for the high noon, and the soldier's not even shooting, he's just looking for the high noon. Or, if they do eventually go, okay, I have no idea where it is, it's probably nowhere near us, then they look away. And then you just peek out and bang. And because you're faster, they'll have less time to react to the fact that you're walking out. The only way you could be punished for this potentially is if the Winston jumped on you while you were sitting here waiting to walk out. But even in that situation, first of all, this Winston doesn't even know you're there. Second of all, even if he somehow magically knew that you were here and he jumped on you, because you're using high noon, you would have the damage resistance, so it wouldn't kill you, and on top of that, you would have the bullet ready to take off half his health bar. If you follow that up immediately with a flash and fan, you can probably kill the Winston for him trying to dive you. So you'd still get a kill on the tank, no less, for your high noon, and make a bunch of space for your team. I also just like that we're on high ground here. So yeah. I still like this high noon, it's not bad. But I think you maybe could be a little bit better. I might be wrong here, but I think it could be a little bit better. I also... I don't know. Earlier I was congratulating you for your cancel this res. Nah, yeah, I think you should have to do that. Okay, I'm torn on that res because I'm thinking, I don't like that you got high ground. You finally did something great with high ground, and then you immediately dipped. It's like, you really want to take high ground on Hollywood. High ground on this map is enormous. So the fact that you got high ground, used high noon, and immediately ditched it bothers me. But I know it's because you were trying to punish the Mercy. And in fairness, you did cancel res. On one hand, I want to say, okay, but your teammates can kill Mercy on their own. They don't need your help. I say that, though, to be fair, it looked like only Ramatra was bothering to try and kill Mercy, and if it was only Ramatra, the Mercy might have actually gotten away with that res, so actually maybe that is right. It's one of those things where, like, if people are on the ball, if your team is playing like a cohesive unit, you shouldn't have to do that, and that would be a misplay. But I think in the context that your teammates are gold players, they're not going to be paying attention to the Mercy res, they're not going to try and cancel it, and they're not going to have the damage to do it. I think actually you probably did make the right call there. That just feels weird. Okay, this primal here is unfortunate, but it looks like you're gonna live it. I like the. Okay, this is a small thing, but I want to bring this up. You lost an opportunity here, so you've. Actually, let's go back to the start of the primal. So I like this flash. You wait until it gets close, and you hit him with the flash, and the fan, and you get 270 damage immediately. And then what I thought you were going to do is, the second that you finished the flash, you were going to use your dodge roll to chase him and flash him, I keep saying flash and fan, and fan him again for another 270 damage. That would be a lot of damage, it'd be a lot of ult charge, and it would basically force the Winston to run away immediately. Which he does anyway. But instead, you wait for the manual reload, and you slowly walk up to him and miss half your shots because you're not close enough and he jumps away. If you dodge rolled immediately to get the instant reload and hit immediately, you would have hit all your bullets. And now you dodge roll, but now he's too far away and you can't use your bullets. And he gets away. He probably dies there if you were quicker. If you instantly hit dodge roll and then fan him again, he probably dies there. I think you would actually kill him if you didn't hold the dodge roll too long. Okay, so here's the other thing. Right now, where do you think Cass should be? If you're a Cass on this map, where do you think you should be? Now, it's a bit of a trick question, because there's a lot of potential options, but I'm just going to say this. I don't think you should be on cart. I really don't. Lifeweaver's already pushing it. It's Lifeweaver, so he's not going to budge, you know? Lifeweaver typically likes to sit in his happy little safe place, so, you know, you don't really need to be pushing this with him. You don't really have good sightlines on any enemies, and honestly, while right now you're not vulnerable because the enemies are far away, if the enemies, say, magically they just teleported here, and suddenly they're here and right in front of you, you're not exactly going to be super safe. You could basically just use the payload as cover, but other than that, it's going to be a pretty sketchy spot to be in. So, where should you be? I know this might sound really obvious, but I don't think you do it enough. High ground. Right here. High ground. Right here. And then it goes up here. And then, oh hey, look. I've got an extremely powerful angle that can see all of this area, and I can shoot the soldier, I can shoot the Juno, I can shoot the Winston. When the Mercy walks out, I can shoot her. And what? They can maybe pepper some bullets at me back, but I can just immediately dip back in here. And what? If they want to come challenge me, sure, go ahead. Walk right up here, come up this elevator, I'll hear it coming, and I'll just flash and fan you and kill you immediately. Thanks for coming up here. So yeah, you should absolutely be doing what this Ash is doing, actually, and taking high ground, because you are a hit scan. You need to take high ground. You need to use high ground. It's very important that you use and take high ground as a hit scan. And so I don't really like that you're just sitting on cart here and doing nothing here. Especially because this is actually a good example of what I'm on about. This is not you couldn't have predicted this, by the way. I'm not saying this like you should have known this is coming, but this Pharah like suddenly appears on the high ground, like she's just in the middle of nowhere, and she just goes for the solo ult, and Ash kills her for it. That was a really dumb solo. I just want to say, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not holding back on this Pharah. This Pharah is like, from what I've seen, is playing like an absolute idiot. Like, oh my god, that's really bad. That's like some bronze stuff. Anyway, but either way. Thankfully, you know, obviously that doesn't go anywhere, but I just want to say, that would have been even easier to take out if, like, you were here. Like, if this Pharah has 1% more IQ, they probably, if they engage a Neuron, they probably don't, like, try and solo the Ash there, and they probably maybe actually kill her. And if you're here to help, obviously her chances of survival are better, and you also have a much better angle to fire on all these guys at. Like, worst case scenario, the Winston jumps on you, but is that even that bad? Like, don't you kind of want the Winston to get close to you? Because you have supports with you, you have your Life Weaver down here, and you have your Juno up here, so they can heal you, so you can out-tank, like, the Winston, like, electricity, the Tesla cannon, and if he gets close, you can just flash and fan him. Free ult charge, and potentially even kills him, you know? That's pretty good. Not to mention, if he has to jump on you, he has to give up main, which means that Ramattra can just run right into his backline and eat them up for breakfast. So, you would do a lot by taking high ground, but because you're on cart, you're just contributing nothing. So yeah, I just really want to hammer that in, because there's a lot of things that look like, oh, well, what was I supposed to do about that? And it's just one of those things where, okay, well, once you're in that situation, there's nothing you can really do. But you wouldn't even be in that situation if you just took high ground. You know, that kind of thing. Oh, also, unfortunately, I don't really have a comment to make about that. That's just bad aim. You know, it's just not landing shots. You know, nothing that I haven't said before, at least. Obviously, it's difficult because the Juno is 80-80 strafing. You haven't really observed her patterns. You don't really know where she wants to go, what she wants to do. So you have no idea where you want to shoot, and so you're having trouble shooting her. That one I'm not really going to grill you for too much, because it looks like from that distance, it's pathetic that you can't land your shots, but in fairness, I think that's pretty normal. You know, like, when you don't have a read on what they're doing. But yeah. I'm surprised this Winston chases you here, because, like, yeah, you do the right thing there. Fan, flash, fan, just deletes him. You can jump at the end of that petal and reach the top, by the way. Okay, so you tried to take high ground at least there, but you give up immediately and you don't jump when you reach the top of the petal to get the extra height. Now you're stuck on low ground again. You can't shoot the soldier because you have a terrible angle because you're on low ground. We're still on low ground. Okay, we do actually catch this. I don't know why the Reaper was already 1 HP, but he was. We're now having to fight the Winston, because we can't... To be fair, actually, okay, he jumps on you, he's an idiot. But still, what I was going to say is... Because I think it still applies, because obviously you still get a kill there, because the Winston's dumb. It's like I said earlier, if you can get a kill on the supports, that's better. And you're in a position where you're having to shoot the tank because you have no one else to shoot. And you have no one else to shoot because you're on low ground. You have so few options of people you can shoot because you're on low ground. And so now you're trying to shoot this flying Juno who's being healed by her own ult and then getting mercy pocketed, and it's like, it doesn't matter that you're landing shots. They're not headshots, and it's not, like, constant, so you're not killing her. Yeah. Oh, actually, to be fair, I forgot that you killed her. To be honest, I'm not going to lie. I did not remember that you killed her. Fair enough, you got her. You got her eventually. Okay, here's another thing. Oh, actually, no, never mind. I forgot your flash is on cooldown because you just used it on Juno. I got a bit distracted by the fact that, you know, I paused. Yeah, I was going to say you should flash that Reaper immediately so he can't use his Wraith form to escape, but yeah, you don't have your flash. Fair enough. But I just really want to hammer in the high ground thing, because I'm looking at this fight, and it's like, it could be worse, you know? It could be worse, but one, you do not die there if you're on high ground. That Juno would not be able to kill you there if you're on high ground. The other thing as well is you just look at this whole team fight and you think about how many times you have to dodge and weave around the payload to just try and maybe get a shot on the Mercy or the Juno, and then you have to walk around here and give yourself open to this and leave yourself open to that shot, and it's just like, and then what if you were just standing here? You know? And it's just like, oh, that's easy. Dink, 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 dink. Oh, they can't even fight back. You know, and it's like, oh no, instead we just set up here. I mean, even just like, this isn't like ideal, but even just setting up here is better, you know? I just really don't like the sitting on low ground. Thankfully, Ramatra clutches up and we get the payload to the end. So you can switch spawns. Good thing you know about that. And I will give you credit here. You have your sound on, which is better than most people. Amazing. We can hear the sound cues to figure out if there are enemies nearby. Revolutionary technology. You nearly got him. Played a bit of Benny Hill music over this. A little bit of... Okay, here I would have just gone for the instant flash the second he was close enough. But thankfully he's an idiot and runs back in here and just gives you a free kill. Okay, the high ground thing is going to come back up again here. Okay, I'm glad that once you start hearing that, you don't even have to look back at the soldier. You hear the soldier start shooting again, and you get to cover, and you play this corner where he can't shoot you. Good. You wait for him to reload and get back, and then you start pushing forward, trying to punish the Winston. This is pretty fine, okay, but honestly, after you flash that Winston and he just gets healed, I don't know. I think you just back off, especially because this is the thing. You're getting pincered here. You're getting a situation where your exit is covered by the soldier because you couldn't deal with him because he is using high ground. Unfortunately, you aren't. Because he's using high ground, he's got your exit, and you can't really deal with that. And you're walking forward up to here where everyone can like shoot you, and you can only use the payload as cover. And yeah, I know you're trying to kill the Winston. The Ramatra's also trying to do that, but he's got his bubble. He's got both of his supports pocketing him. He's not going to die, and you're really putting yourself on death's door here. You're really putting yourself in a precarious position. So I know that there's no immediately accessible high ground here, but I would just play it sneaky right from the jump here. I'll get more specific in a second. It is kind of dumb that Reaper just solo ults you there. That's just unfortunate. But I do think you kind of put yourself in a bad position to start. So, if I remember right, yeah, here, you could stand on this, it's not too bad, but you don't. You walk off. Fan to get rid of the bubble, pretty good. Oh, is it not? Is it not yet? I think I might be thinking of the wrong bit. Yeah, okay, he primals first. Okay, yeah, you get a pedal, that was it. You get a pedal and it takes you up here. Perfect. You have taken high ground. I'd just like to point out, I know that it's a long walk, but it's well worth it. If you don't have a petal, to get to this high ground, you slowly inch your way over here, you sneak in here. If you can take some shots here, take some shots here, because you got a health pack here, but if no enemies confront you, then just sneak up here and get up here. And then you can either play from here, or, in fact, you maybe even get a flashing fan on this Juno who doesn't even know you're there. Or, of course, you can go for the giga greedy, giga sneaky flank and go all the way over here. Now, you have High Noon, so everyone here knows what's about to happen. The only question is where. Now, I personally like High Nooning here, because if we look at what's going on right now, Winston is primaled and in your backline. The enemy supports have a decision to make. Do they jump in there and help the Winston? And the DPS, honestly, too, have this decision to make. Do they jump in there and help the Winston? Or do they leave him? If they leave him, he probably gets 4v1'd and dies. However, if they try to cross the gap to help them, and you hit the High Noon, they are stranded. Because the second they are stuck here, if they just try and run back, you just dink, dead. They have to stay in this little cubby to not get high nooned. At which point, they can just get absolutely ganged up on by your entire team. Amazing. The best part is, that's not even it. Because in fairness, there is a world where you hit this high noon, and the Winston just kind of like dies in here, and that sure, that's great that the Winston died and no one came to help him, but no one takes the bait. You know, no one walks out into the high noon, no one crosses the gap, and you don't split anyone off. That is possible. However, you got an even better play then. Yoink, drop, bam, 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 bam. You've got a lot of options if you high noon from here. However, there's one other option that you could take. You're a betting man, I see. You're a greedy, greedy little goblin. Oh, you couldn't just take the easy ult, could you? You couldn't just take the easy free value. You had to go for the flashy, oh, I'm gonna go right into their spawn. I'm gonna go right into their spawn and high noon them. But honestly, you know what? It's risky, but I wouldn't actually be that mad at you if this is what your plan was. If you were just going to get onto this little minivan with a dodge roll and then high noon here. Because the only reason you wouldn't do that is because the dodge roll does make sound, but so does the punch you just did to get rid of the railing, so you kind of already lost that argument. So yeah, you want to be getting on there and high nooning, I guess, in this position. Again, I kind of prefer the more safe method that I mentioned earlier, the one I mentioned a second ago. But if we're doing this, fair enough. You might be able to get a huge play off of this. So, what's the plan here, Chief? You know that in any reasonable lobby, you should be executed on the spot for trying this, right? You are very lucky these people are dumb enough to not turn around yet. I don't know about this one. But okay. There is one way I could still get you out of this one and say, you know what, fair enough. If you're getting this close because you're going for a flash and fan on the Lifeweaver into a high noon to like finish him off if he slips away with a little bit of extra health remaining, because Lifeweaver is pretty bad for that. You know, it's so annoying. Lifeweaver almost always seems to slip away with like 5 extra health remaining. So, you know, flash fan and then Deadeye might be a decent idea here. It's a little bit risky. It's a bit greedy. You know, I wouldn't go for it personally, but you know what? Fine. Flash fan, Deadeye. You're not even going to do the flashing fan? Are you serious? What is this? What? No. Watch that back. Explain this to me. Explain this to me. What is going through your head? Okay, so we're sneaking as to not make sound, and then we make sound. You know you can just jump over that, right? Okay, so now we've made sound, so we may as well dodge roll over, but we're not doing it anyway, because question mark, high ground means nothing, I guess. And then, okay, but at least now we're here, we hit the button immediately, right? We made the loud dunk sound when we landed, so if they were paying attention, they would turn around and kill you right now. So this is the moment where you got to hit the button, right? But no, we got to walk forward, still sneaking, by the way, even though you've already made 2 very loud sounds. But we've got to walk forward even more, but okay, fine, we'll walk forward a little bit more. A little bit more? And then what? We're going to take a nice look at, just drink in the picturesque scene. Stare into the void. Look over the Lifeweaver like, hey there, and wait for him to turn around. You actually waited for the Lifeweaver to turn around before you pressed the button. Okay, place your bets. Is it huge? Is it huge? Is it a 4K? Is it a 3K? At least be a 2K, please. Well, we got 1 bullseye and it's gone. Zero kill Deadeye. Then again, I say it got 0 kills. It did get 1 kill, didn't it? It's just unfortunate that kill was you. I'm sorry, Matt. You can't be doing this cheeky shit and expect me to have sympathy. You know, usually I like to be a bit more fair-handed. I like to be a bit, you know, okay, you were good about that, and that was a good idea. You know, you had a vision, you know, but I'm not doing it with this. Like, you're actually driving me mad with this. There are so many micro mistakes here. There's so many why? Like, at the very least, just hit the button now. Do it now. So, okay, to be fair, this is a terrible high noon, so even getting 1 kill off of this would have been great. So I say, Immediately. Second you see the bullseye, you should have clicked. To be fair, you might have tried to do that, but it might have not just reacted fast enough. Now I'm watching that back. Because you really had a thin window there. But yeah, nah. Like, you know, what was your plan here? Did you really think that you were going to get a 5k? Because if you don't get a 5k here, you die every time. There's no way you get out of there alive. I don't know, maybe a life grips you out, but like, other than that, you are always dying here. Every single time. I don't like it. I do not like this. Okay. I haven't seen any more beyond this point, so anything I've seen now is new. Nah, that doesn't bode well. Okay, we're going for a little off angle. It's a small off angle, but it's an off angle. Oh, we got the dink! Okay, we're touching, good. Making sure we're not C9ing. We flash, okay. That's understandable. Okay, oh wow, it took them a while to notice the Bastion. Yeah, it took you, I think, the only thing I would say is you didn't have a lot of time to react in fairness, but I would immediately, like, fan the Bastion second you know he's there. But you got the flash, which is good. Okay, got all the way there. Alright, let us see what round 2 has in store.